is KTN Friday Briefing with Betty Kyallo.
Tragedy in Bomet, 4 men buried alive in quarry.
Any absence must be limited to that which is strictly necessary.
Setback in The Hague while Ruto must attend all his trial sessions.
To all those who may have been part of the network facilitating issuance of Kenyan identification documents to illegal immigrants who turn out to be criminals, I have only one message for you. Your days are clearly numbered.
Lessons from Westgate, government begins immigration crackdown. And how to pronounce it, Willis the word master is all set. Trust you've had a good day. Thank you very much for making time for the briefing you need before you start your weekend. Well, tonight we have the best news coverage in town, and at some point in this bulletin we will have the strong Tiger Power as our guest anchor. He will be joining us in a short while. Plus, Willis the Word Master has a number of surprises in the unique Mind Your Language segment that is coming to you in a short while. There we have him, Tiger Power, getting set for the big task. But of course, let's begin with the top stories tonight. Now, a mining activity at Kyogong area in Bomet County turned tragic after the quarry collapsed, burying 6 miners alive. Now, one miner has been rescued and one body has since been retrieved. But the latest report from Bomet was that rescue efforts had to be suspended as night fell, leaving 2 brothers and another pair of men still trapped under the rubble. Here are the details.
Rescue operations continue in Kyogong, Bomet County, following the collapse of a quarry. 6 miners were buried alive when the 10-meter deep quarry caved in. During the initial stages of the rescue operation, voices of the victims could be heard as they called for help. Lack of specialized rescue staff and equipment hampered the rescue process. One survivor rescued by the team was taken to Tenwek Hospital, while one body was retrieved from the quarry.
Hii sio mara ya kwanza, lakini kama unaona wale ambao wamenusurika ni wale wanajua. Ukiona mchanga kidogo inateremka kutoka juu, hata kama ni lizard imeguza, what you do ni kukimbia.
The accident comes in the wake of an order by the National Environmental Management Authority (NEMA) to stop the miners from extracting sand from the killer quarry 3 months ago. The area leaders now want the government to buy the land surrounding the quarries to avert further accidents.
We are going to make sure that this is closed once we finish with this exercise right now, and measures put in place that nobody else or no life will be lost in future again.
Kuhakikisha tumekagua na wale wanaishi karibu sana na kware, tutawaomba ikiwezekana watuuzie hiyo shamba, ndio watu wasonge kidogo mbali na hii quarries.
Led by National Assembly Deputy Speaker Joyce Laboso and Bomet Deputy Governor Stephen Mutai, local leaders visited the scene of the tragedy. A similar incident occurred in the area 4 years ago, killing 4 miners. Winnie Kamau, KTN.
To The Hague now, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is now seeking to have his trial postponed until February next year. Uhuru's lawyers say the postponement will give the president time to address the threat of terrorism following the Westgate attack. The defense team also argues that a November date will not give enough time for the court to decide on an earlier application to stop the trial altogether. The lawyers want a speedy hearing of the application, which comes just 3 weeks before hearing of the application before President Uhuru Kenyatta's trial is due to begin. Now, the president had last week asked the court to stop the proceedings on grounds that the prosecution had abused the court process. The government remains non-committal on whether the president will attend the trial or not. Kenya's application to have the case deferred for at least 1 year is still pending before the UN Security Council. Now, also moving on, Deputy President William Ruto will attend most of the sessions in his trial at The Hague after all. Now, the appeals chamber, the International Criminal Court, overturned an earlier decision that had allowed him to skip some of the hearings. KTN's Edith Kimani has these details.
Deputy President William Ruto's case was momentarily relocated to the appeals chamber. The ruling to be made here would be crucial. In April, the Deputy President requested excusal from physically attending all hearings, a request the Trial Chamber 5 judges granted in June. Prosecutor Fatu Bensouda did not agree with that decision and appealed against it. Together with her team, prosecution argued Ruto is directly involved in the case and cannot be allowed to passively follow proceedings. And blow by blow, as Ruto looked on in dismay, the appeals judge crushed Ruto's hopes of skipping selected sessions in his trial.
The absence of the accused can only take place in exceptional circumstances and must not become the rule.
Observers say that Ruto's loss in the appeals chamber today could inform prosecution's decision to pursue a similar appeal against President Uhuru Kenyatta. As it stands, the president has been excused from physically attending all hearings, but Bensouda has indicated her intention to challenge this. Should prosecution strike, the ICC battle will be shifted to the UN Security Council.
We are going to pursue the United Nations Security Council's adjudication on this matter so that this case can be deferred.
Even with these options on the cards, a section of legislators spoke almost immediately after the decision, expressing their dissatisfaction.
It is to probably show contempt to Kenyan people when we say and when we ask that we want our president and deputy president to execute their mandate, that the International Criminal Court does not see any justification in that case.
ICC continues to be very insensitive to the Kenyan situation.
The silver lining in Ruto's case came after chamber judges allowed him to be away from Monday to enable President Uhuru Kenyatta attend a regional meeting in Rwanda. The deputy president will resume hearings on Thursday, only to break a day later, paving way for the commencement of President Kenyatta's trial on the 12th of November. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Well, Edith's story leads us to the big question tonight, and we ask, do you support the ruling by the ICC for Ruto to attend all his trial sessions? Do you support the ICC ruling for Ruto to attend all his trial sessions? Do text in. The number is 22155. That's 2215. You can tweet us at KTN Kenya or at Betty Kyallo, and we'll be glad to share your views during this newscast. So now, with the two top Kenyan leaders having dates with the ICC, what are the possible scenarios after the ruling today made by the appeals chamber? Well, first, it is possible that the decision on Ruto's attendance of the trial may embolden Chief Prosecutor Fatu Bensouda to appeal the recent decision which allowed President Uhuru Kenyatta to skip most of the sessions during his trial. The second scenario is one where the appeals chamber may reverse the decision on skipping some sessions. Some consider that Uhuru's allies may convince him to snub his trial if this happens, citing his constitutional obligations to Kenya. Well, the other possibility is now where the UN Security Council may allow Uhuru's case to be deferred, but the complication for the Jubilee government here is that the Ruto case may have to continue unless they both receive a reprieve from the UN UN. Well, the final scenario, as you can see on our graphics, is if the UN rejects the plea for a deferral, and so Uhuru's case will have to continue. Well, this means Uhuru and Ruto will have to simply interchange fights and places at the ICC as they attend their trials, which they have been promised will never coincide. All right, so now we've seen that the appeals chamber at the ICC today accepted Fatou Bensouda's appeal that Deputy President William Ruto should attend most of the hearings for his case. However, if you recall, it's a different scenario for President Uhuru Kenyatta, as he does not have to physically attend his hearings. And joining me from our City Center studio is the victim's lawyer in Uhuru Kenyatta's case, Fogel Gaynor. Sir, if you can hear me, great to see you. What is the implication of Uhuru Kenyatta not having to attend most of his hearings?
Well, the first thing to keep in mind is that the decision made by the trial chamber in the Ruto case and the decision made by the trial chamber in the Kenyatta case is in almost identical terms. Today's decision by the appeals chamber strictly applies only to the Ruto case, but I think all the parties will accept that that guidance applies to all cases before the ICC, including the case of Uhuru Kenyatta. So it may be that we have to go through a couple of procedural steps. One of those is known as reconsideration. Another might be an appeal in order to straighten out the procedure. But I don't think anybody will be any doubt that today's guidance by the appeals chamber will apply in the Kenyatta case.
As the victim's lawyer, what problem do you have with President Uhuru Kenyatta, attending to his trial through video link? You have to consider that this is no longer a personal interest, but we have national issues inclined here.
Yes, the victims have made their position very clear and strongly to me, and I've relayed that position to the court. And they certainly think that every accused person should be treated equally. It doesn't matter if you're a bus driver, it doesn't matter if you're a farmer, it doesn't matter if you're the president of Kenya. You should be treated equally before the court. And that guarantee of equality exists in the Rome Statute. Now, for that reason, I've told the court that the victims are totally opposed to the use of video link, and they are totally opposed to the absence of the accused from the trial chamber during the trial. It's important to keep in mind that today's decision by the appeals chamber is in fact much more flexible perhaps than it might appear. The appeals chamber has left the door open to the accused to make an application to be absent for exceptional circumstances, and the appeals chamber quite deliberately, I think, has decided not to define what those exceptional circumstances might be. So both Mr. Ruto and Mr. Kenyatta will be able to make applications to their respective trial chambers during trial to be absent for certain eventualities, and it will be up to the parties at that time to make submissions to the trial chamber and for the trial chamber to rule upon it. But it is in fact quite a flexible and pragmatic decision, I would say, in many ways, and it's certainly far more liberal than any other decision that has ever been made in any international criminal tribunal against any other accused person. So I think it's important to keep in mind that it is in fact quite an accommodation by the appeals chamber.
Well, is this the only way, the presence of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto at The Hague, is this the only way that victims can get reprieve?
I think victims would welcome justice of any kind. They've been waiting nearly 6 years since the crimes have taken place. There have been no prosecutions whatsoever in Kenya against high-level suspects. There have been no prosecutions whatsoever against mid-level suspects. There have been no prosecutions against police for crimes committed during the post-election violence, and just a handful of prosecutions of direct perpetrators for the incredibly brutal crimes that took place during that period and that everyone acknowledges took place during that period. So they have certainly been waiting patiently now for justice of some kind, whether in Kenya or at the ICC. Now, if the trial has to take place with occasional absences by the accused from the courtroom, I think the victims will be able to live with that. But we certainly do need to get the trial to start on the 12th of November, as you mentioned. We've seen today, as you mentioned earlier in your presentation, that his defence team has filed yet another request to delay the start of trial. This request, as I've told the court before, falls within a strategy of delay, and more delay. And they will continue, I think, to pursue that strategy, and the trial chamber will continue to receive submissions about that, and they can rule when they've heard those submissions.
Maybe finally, very quickly, Kenya has applied for, a deferral from the UN Security Council. I mean, what happens when Kenya is granted that sort of deferral?
If Kenya is granted that deferral, then the trial will be suspended for a maximum for 12 months. The request has been made in terms that apply to both cases, that is to say, both the case of Mr. Kenyatta and the case of Mr. Ruto and Mr. Sang. So it would effectively suspend both of those cases for 12 months. They would then have to go back for a renewal every 12 months to the Security Council. It's important to keep in mind that there are 5 members of the Security Council which can veto any of those resolutions. Those 5 powers are the UK, the US, France, Russia and China. So essentially, Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Ruto are placing their futures very much in the hands of those 5 powers if they decide to pursue their request to the United Nations Security Council.
Thank you very much, Fergal Gaynor.
Thank you very much.
All right, he is the victim's lawyer in the case against Uhuru Kenyatta. That is case number 2. Let's continue with our coverage. And the government has sacked 15 immigration officers after they were implicated in the issuance of Kenyan identity documents to illegal immigrants. Well, 17 senior administration officers have been deployed to the Department of Immigration in the wake of the attack at the Westgate Mall here in Nairobi. KTN's Bilkis Tanyabwa has that report.
In the wake of the attack on the Westgate shopping mall, Kenya now turns its attention to the Immigration Department, seeking to seal any loopholes that could be used by persons who mean the country harm. Following the Westgate attack on 21st September, the government ordered an internal security audit. The audit report has seen the axe fall on 15 immigration officers believed to have been involved in the irregular issuance of Kenyan identification documents.
We have fired 15 senior and mid-level immigration officers who, in one way or the other, were implicated in the issuance of Kenya identification documents to illegal immigrants, thereby endangering national security.
The 15 officers will also be arraigned in court and charged once investigations are completed. The Interior Cabinet Secretary has put all government departments on notice, saying there will be a nationwide purge.
The purge that has started today will extend to many other government departments in my ministry.
In a bid to revamp and streamline the Immigration Department, 17 senior and experienced administration officers have been redeployed to the department. The government will also carry out an audit of ID cards and passports issued in the country in the last 2 years. There are currently 350,000 uncollected identity cards, and cards which shall not have been collected within 3 months will be destroyed. The government will also be working to strengthen the Registration of Persons Act.
I wish to point out that we do not have a backlog in identity card processing and issuing, and therefore any waiting card that is more than 3 months old is not valid. Stern action will be taken on anyone holding such cards.
Further 6 individuals have been appointed to spearhead the development of a national policy on community policing. Dr. Francis Sang, Salim Demo, Nuri Abdullahi, Simiyu Werunga, Titus Naikuni and former NACADA Chair Joseph Kaguthi are expected to work towards revitalizing community policing in the country. In addition, the government is working to ensure the repatriation of Somali refugees runs smoothly in the wake of reports of terror attacks planned in refugee camps. Wilkis Tanyabwa, KTN.
All right, so we're just about to take a break. But before then, let's have a reminder to our big question tonight. And we had asked, do you support the ruling by the ICC for Ruto to attend all his trial sessions? That is the new development that we had today at the ICC. We asked, do you support the ruling by the ICC for Ruto to attend all his trial sessions? Do text in. The number is 22155. That's 22155. You can tweet us at KTN Kenya or at Betty Kyallo, and I'll be glad to sample your views during this newscast. All right, let's have our news in brief, taking a look at the stories making headlines from across the country. Mombasa County, youth from the Masjid Musa Mosque in Majengo engaged the police in running battles for the second consecutive day. This was after the police summoned 4 people believed to be preachers from the mosque on suspicion of preaching hate. Today, police used tear gas canisters and fired live bullets in the air to disperse the youth. No injuries were reported. In Nairobi County, Governor Evans Kidero appointed a 6-member committee led by Francis Munyambu as Nairobi's city's Chief of Security, Compliance, Investigations and Disaster Management. This is aimed at dealing with insecurity in the county. On matters, health officers from the Kenya Medical Laboratories and Technicians Board conducted a raid at one of the laboratories in Nairobi's Central Business District. This followed complaints that the laboratory conducts VCT tests without valid equipment. Still in Nairobi, a report launched today by Transparency International Kenya indicates that the police, county government officers, land services and the judiciary are among the top centers of corruption as per the East African Bribery Index. Kenya was rated second after Uganda as the most corrupt country in East Africa. And the Anglican Global Leaders meeting in Nairobi will announce their final resolutions tomorrow on homosexuality and leadership in the Anglican Church. There has been a division in the church over the acceptance of homosexuals, even as the Kenyan church announced its stand against it. All right, we take that short commercial break. Don't go away. We are back with Tiger Power. You don't want to miss that. Stay tuned. Cracking those troublesome words you sent in.
Ushuru wenyewe tunatozwa hapo kila siku, lakini wenye wanafagianga hatuwaoni wakati wa kufagia, lakini wakati wa kuushuru tunawaona. Na hata mahali penye tunafanya kwa cabbage, hata cabbages imejaa kama mlima.
You are watching KTN Friday Briefing.
Judicial Service Commission has appointed Kakai Kissinger as the acting chief registrar of the judiciary. 38-year-old Kissinger is a holder of a master's degree in law from Harvard Law School and a law degree from University of Nairobi. He has worked as a senior governance advisor with the Independent Medical Legal Unit and as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya since 2001. He has worked as a legal assistant for Musyoka and Wambua Advocates, as well as Mudhoga Gaturu and company advocates. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Dr. Willy Mutunga is fighting to protect the reputation of the judiciary in the face of the controversy between the Judicial Service Commission and former Chief Judiciary Registrar Gladys Boss Sholei. Well, this comes as a section of Law Society of Kenya members wants the JSC to be disbanded. KTN's Catherine Omwanto with that story.
Members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee were left seething with anger following a snub by the Judicial Service Commissioners.
We believe in the principles of natural justice, in which someone must be given a hearing before you are condemned.
It took hours to convince the committee to listen to JSC advocate Paul Mwite. He was sent by JSC to ask for more time to decide if the commissioners will appear before the committee. Mwite said the removal of Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi and 5 other members of the JSC could cause a constitutional crisis.
When listening to Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi himself, appearing on KTN on Tuesday, I believe, or Wednesday, he made such a serious allegation that he is going to troop together with all the commissioners to the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on Friday.
It is saying very many things, that these people have abused office, finances, they've abrogated amongst themselves several things that they've done. So in fact, what we're trying to do is we should not even have invited them. Given the things that have been going on in the judiciary, Kenyans are actually wondering why we are a lame duck National Assembly. Crying, you're saying we've been invited these people several times and they're not coming.
The committee also ordered the National Auditor General, Dennis Karaoke, to prepare a report on any breaches in law in the approval of expenditure within the judiciary by Tuesday.
While the members of parliament sulked over the JSC snub, some members of the judiciary attended the first annual Kenya Magistrates and Judges Conference in Nairobi. The Chief Justice seemed determined to restore Kenyans' faith in the judiciary.
We remain accountable to the Kenyan public who pay us and in whose name we work.
But the Rift Valley branch of the Law Society of Kenya claims judicial reforms have stalled.
These individuals are engaging in nepotism. What is happening at the Judicial Service Commission is horse trading. It is nothing about justice. It's nothing about expeditious determination of cases.
But they know, the JSC and I know, we have touched a raw nerve and the reactions are not pleasant.
Given that it is one of the pillars of government, judicial officers are fighting for the integrity of an institution that is no stranger to controversy. Catherine Omwando, KTN in Nairobi.
And we're back with Tiger Power to introduce someone who comes after we do what we do.
Oh.
Look into that camera and introduce
Boni Tunya. What do you have in business?
Well, that's right, Mr. Tiger Pub. I must add, Betty, do not try what we just saw at home. That was insane. I mean, but then the question is, what's your secret? 67 and doing that kind of stuff? I mean, you're indeed the strongest man. But coming up in business, we have a new law that will restrict public servants to travel only on economy class and only on Kenya Airways. That and much more coming up in business.
This is KTN Friday Briefing. Stay tuned to see Mohaji Chopevu turned Ras Moha, the reggae DJ.
Cabinet orders all public servants to fly Kenya Airways for local and international travels.
Tweet of the day in association.
My name is Boni Tunya. Now, the government has directed all public servants traveling on air to use Kenya Airways. According to Cabinet Secretary for Transport and Infrastructure, Engineer Michael Kamau, the Cabinet had approved the directive and they are in the process of securing services for travel agents who will help the government obtain such tickets. Michael Karanja has all the details. Only recently, Parliament endorsed a motion that state officers cannot travel higher than business class for local and international trips. This Parliament argued would save the Kenyan economy some 10 billion shillings every financial year. And now the move seems to have been cemented with a requirement that all public officers will be restricted to flying Kenya Airways.
Because we know that you are not a travel agent, we didn't want to test you there. We are going to procure 10 travel agents who will be exclusively doing our travel business with KQ.
The move, analysts point out, is likely to save it money on tickets procured at concessionary rates and boost Kenya Airways passenger numbers in the coming days. The news came as Kenya Airways took hold of the first of 4 Boeing 777-300ER with a 400 passenger capacity as well as the ability to hold 20 metric tons of cargo. The delivery is part of the airline's ambitious Project Mawingu that will see it add more aircraft to its fleet to match up increased competition.
What you will see next year, in as far as KQ is concerned, is a different airline, Cabinet Secretary. An airline that is here to make sure that Kenya achieves what it has always set itself for.
The large aircrafts, Kenya Airways says, will be used in boosting its long-haul flights and cement its position in the competitive aviation industry. The first 777 will be used for direct flights to China, primarily connecting West and East Africa to the Asian tiger. The arrival of the Boeing 777-300ER marks the onset of Kenya Airways' Mawingu plan. Through the plan, Kenya Airways plans to increase the number of airplanes in its fleet, also increasing the capacity to carry passengers and open new routes. Michael Karanja, KTN Business.
And of course, that particular bill that transferred public servants from business to, if you like, cattle class was pushed by Jamlek Kamau, Member of Parliament. Elsewhere, residents of Dunga and Bandani can now breathe easy after the Kisumu Water and Sewerage Company, in partnership with the Water Services Trust Fund, launched the mini water plant hubs in the 2 neighborhoods in Kisumu City at a cost of 45 million shillings. Fred Omulo brings us that story.
Residents of Dunga in Kisumu live in one of the interesting ironies of urban Nyanza. Lake Victoria is located less than a kilometer away, yet their settlement is too disorganized to receive piped water. As a result, Kiwasco came up with a simple novelty: water hubs tailored to serve residents' economic needs.
This time, we've just given Kisumu, for the projects that we are launching today, 16 million Kenya shillings. And we have what we are negotiating this morning. We want to give them some more money, 20 million shillings.
Across town in Bandani, the same problem festers, though less troubling. Residents here will also benefit from these services as they await a more structured system that the county government is planning to put in place.
The county government is currently finalizing on a strategic plan that seeks to spur development across the county of Kisumu. Through this effort, we shall see management of water in the whole county come under one umbrella to help improve service reliability and the delivery of quality water.
More than half of Kisumu County's 1 million residents live in houses that have no access to piped water. This has created a booming water trade that water vendors and borehole drillers have exploited to the hilt. For KTN Business, I am Fredo Mulo.
Now, performance appraisal is a key management tool in many organizations, either annually or biannually. But as Adelaide Changole found out, new software could revolutionize the ritual that is key to promotions and salary increments in many institutions here in the country.
Finding the balance between getting the most out of employees while still ensuring their well-being has been tough for employers around the world for many years. But now a new homegrown software could be the solution to this issue. Dubbed Bamba Rewards, the software documents the performance of workers using a set of predetermined matrices and allocates points based on the output of each employee in real time.
An employer can know what their staff has done from a performance standpoint at any time, for any duration.
And like the normal appraisal process, the system allows each worker to keep track of their progress online, learning their weak points and getting an opportunity to improve on the same.
Only through self-awareness can you really improve. And not necessarily is self-awareness a manager critiquing you. Self-awareness is you going into our platform, seeing your own graphical data. All of that is there for you to look at and really determine that I need to improve.
And while the points accumulated throughout the year can be the benchmark used to determine bonuses and promotions, the system also allows employees to redeem their points in exchange for rewards from certain institutions, thereby allowing the worker to literally reap rewards from their hard work. So far, the Bamba Reward system has been adopted by several firms across the country, but the firm is eyeing the civil service following plans to introduce a circular making it mandatory for all government employees to be at their desks between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
And you are paid for the hours you've worked, whether you are permanent or you are casual, they don't care. If you don't go to work, they won't pay you.
Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
All right, let's take a look at how the markets closed on Friday afternoon here on the Financial Market Review, coming up next.
KTN Business.
Well, that's all the time we had for business. My name is Boni Tunya. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you, Tunya, for that business report. Let's now have a recap of our top story tonight. And in our top story, we brought you the tragic news of a quarry that collapsed in Kyogong area of Bomet County. The 10-meter deep quarry caved in as 6 miners were working on the site, which had already been condemned by the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA. Leaders joined others in efforts to rescue miners still in the quarry. This evening, one survivor was rescued and the body of one victim retrieved from the rubble. time to get schooled on how to pronounce certain English words. And Willis, the word master, now joins me from Kisumu County. Willis, great to see you. Good evening.
Great to see you, Betty. Good evening to you too. How is Nairobi?
We are doing great. Let's get straight to it. Now, of late, we have been talking about people in the military. However, there's a rank that has very many people confused. Let me just spell it out for you. Colonel. Got it?
Oh, you're talking about colonel, or colonel. Most people find themselves saying colonel, but the word is pronounced as colonel. Betty, we are talking about received pronunciation in this case.
All right. Also, in the last couple of weeks, we have been seeing stories about, the arms, the kind of muscle that was showcased by, our security officers. What is the opposite? What is another word for arms? You know what I'm talking about? WEAPON.
That word, in most cases, there are people who find themselves saying weapon, but we don't say that because letter A is silent. So the best pronunciation for that word is weapon. Just like we say wealth, not wield. We also say jealous, not jealous. Similarly, we say peasant, but people find themselves saying peasant, a peasant farmer. No, we say peasant. So the word is weapon. Weapon.
Great. Now, last week on social media, there were quite a number of people who wanted to know the correct pronunciation of a certain GSU company. You know what I'm talking about. How do you pronounce that word?
That word is recce. And Betty, this is the British informal way of pronouncing or saying the word reconnaissance. We say recce in British informal, wording or word. But when we talk of the American way, we say recon. So recce is not rec and it's not recce. You say recce.
Many students used to pronounce, to know the meaning of certain words and also to know the pronunciation of certain words. I know you know what I'm talking about. How do you pronounce that word?
We say dictionary. But there is no mistake when somebody says dictionary. When somebody cannot produce what we call the consonant cluster, there is no problem when somebody says nari instead of nri. So we can say also stationary or stationary, ordinary or ordinary. We can also say missionary or missionary. Just like the word important. If you cannot pronounce the terminal part of that word, then you just say important.
Important or important. That's a tough cookie. Now, there are institutions that are created, to help the courts kind of like administer justice. Do we say tribunal or tribunal?
In that word, we have a diphthong. A diphthong is a dual vowel glide. So we say I, tribunal, not tri. Tribunal, tribal, triceps, tripod, not tripod. We say tripod. And we also have tripartite, not tripartite. No. So tribunal is the best pronunciation for that word, Betty.
Does that also relate to the word alumni or alumni? Alumni, not alumni. But remember that there are certain words which we call loan words, Betty. Like, now this word is not pure English. So you may find somebody saying alumni, no problem. But when we come to the English pronunciation, we say alumni, the plural of alumnus. Interesting. Now, there's a word that is used by many people who practice law. When someone has been unfairly treated or, some certain kind of unfair feeling towards a group or a person. Is it prejudice or prejudice?
We say prejudice. It's common to hear prejudice, hospice, novice, apprentice, but we don't have that eyes at the terminal part of those words. We say prejudice, hospice, novice, and apprentice. Betty.
Let's go to the military again. This rank, is it lieutenant or lieutenant?
You say lieutenant. Lieutenant. Betty, there are words which are called look and say words. You don't follow the spellings very strictly or very closely. So you look at them and you say what has been acquired from the native speakers of the language. So we say lieutenant, but there are people who say lieutenant. Lieutenant, that is the American way of pronouncing that word, which some people can choose to use. And that is their liking and not anybody's offense.
Well, thank you very much, Willis, for the great insights.
Thank you, Betty, and I think we'll be again on air next week.
All right.
Good weekend, and bye-bye.
That was Willis, the word master, giving us those great insights into how to pronounce those tough English words correctly. Mind Your Language comes to you every Friday on KTN Friday Briefing.
Mombasa County wants a share of the Sikafa cake as rehabilitation starts at local stadium.
Sitaki kuulizwa, tunafikiria, tunakuangalia wewe, tunakutizama Murungaro, unaonekana kama wewe umekula mali ambao si yako. Tunataka utuambie ni mali gani hii ya watu wengine ambao umekula, na huniambii ni mali ya nani, na mali hiyo nilikula vipi na siku gani.
You are watching KTN Friday Briefing.
Now, the scramble to host the 2013 Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup matches went a notch higher today when Mombasa County kicked off their rehabilitation of the local stadium. Governor Ali Hassan Joho announced that the contract awarded 3 years ago has been cancelled and the refurbishment will be done by the county staff. Mombasa was not in the list of towns FKF had earmarked to host the event, which is yet to attract a title sponsor.
We have decided the works shall be done using the county machinery and county staff. Meaning Mombasa Stadium shall be ready. And in fact, I had been told that 2 weeks, but we have agreed here with our team that in 10 days from today, midweek of the first week of November, we should be able to host a local friendly game here. The contractor is now formally terminated, so there cannot be any excuse. We're moving into site ourselves starting this afternoon. Initially, we had been told it would cost about 20 million shillings, but I am certain because we're going to do it internally, it shall cost much less because we're going to be buying material ourselves. We're going to buy saruji ourselves. We're going to use our machinery. So meaning fuel and everything, and we're going to use our staff. So I see we can save close to 70% or more. And the rest of the works that we feel the private sector can come in to help, we shall encourage them to do so.
Now, the Kenya Society for the Blind held its charity golf tournament at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club today as part of the My Eye is Your Eye campaign, bringing together different individuals, among them Laibuta Kibaya, who is a professional blind golfer. This year's charity Golf Cup supported by the Standard Media Group together with other organizations, brought together 69 golfers whose main aim was to raise funds towards aiding the Thika School for the Blind in purchasing Braille. Now, Optagon and Cranma Abkas, among other learning necessities. Oka was among today's top golfers, registering 40 points ahead of Wycliffe Onyango, who had 29 points. Kibaya Laibuta, known as one of the renowned blind golfers in the country, secured 13 points, and he reiterated the importance of sportsmanship irrespective of one's abilities.
It's not so much about the disability, it's whether we really understand the needs and the opportunities there are, and support those that require to really achieve their potentials.
Anybody who is playing golf today, he or she is playing to support persons with visual impairment. And this campaign, the amount raised or the proceeds will go to either school fee, either assistive device, could it be white cane, braille paper, braille on paper, could it be also braille machine, and all the assistive devices that they require.
KTN Sports.
Time for our news ender. And KTN's Mohammed Ali, popularly known as Moha Jichopevu, became Ras Moha, the DJ in Meru, when he and Radio Maisha presenters entertained Meru residents during the Radio Maisha Roadshow. Here's KTN's Carol Nderi with those details.
Fans thronged the Simba Wells Club in Meru Town to catch a glimpse of their favorite KTN and Radio Maisha presenters. Popular presenters of the Radio Maisha Reggae Splash show, Mohammed Ali of Jichopevu, who kept the revelers on their feet with his expertise on all matters reggae, alongside Mati Tongola and the Reggae Splash DJ parties, played popular tunes as more and more fans streamed in to catch a piece of the action. The Standard Group CEO Sam Shilei was not left out either and enjoyed the show alongside other senior staff of the Standard Group, including Irene Kimani, the commercial director, Doreen Barr, the marketing manager, Charles Kimathi, the managing editor daily, and others. The revelers were kept up all night with a mix of reggae, roots, and dancehall music. Earlier on, residents of Meru Town got a chance to meet popular Radio Maisha presenters whom they only get to listen to through the airwaves. They were thrilled to receive goodies like these boda operators who received much needed reflector jackets. Others like this lady went home with cash tokens. The Radio Maisha radio show that began in Nyeri last Saturday has been held in other regions in Mount Kenya, Kirinyaga, Nyahururu, Nanyuki, Isiolo, and will be proceeding to Embu today.
Thank you so much.
While meeting Meru Governor Peter Munya, Sholei reiterated that the Standard Group would continue to highlight issues in the counties and help in supporting the growth and prosperity of the regions.
There's this message that I keep on hearing. We used to be like the 60s, outside the countries. And today we are nothing compared to those countries. So we have a great opportunity to use the county dispensation.
Munya emphasized that Meru, being the fifth largest county in Kenya, had a lot to offer besides miraa. Sectors such as tourism, the flower industry, dairy farming, tea and coffee sectors were robust and thriving. Munya said there was need to reduce the bureaucracy in the central government so that devolution as envisioned in the new constitution could be facilitated.
We have the national audit office that are supposed to see if the money is not utilized properly. But when you let the national government now patronize, continue controlling, as if the new constitution is not there, it doesn't know very well for us.
The Reggae Splash show comes to you every Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Standard Group continues to stand with the public and bring news and entertainment to you. Carol Nderi for KTN in Meru County.
That's the dressed down Moha. All the seriousness out the window, and he was indeed enjoying himself. Before we wind up, let's review our big hit tonight. And we had asked, do you support the ruling by the ICC that Ruto should attend all his trial sessions? And we have received your feedback. Let me sample one or two from Twitter. Andrew Swar says, no, the deputy president should be treated the same way as the president because they all have the same mandate to Kenyan people. Kagame General says, no, I don't. The court ought to balance itself with constitutional mandate given to Mr. Ruto by Kenyans. But a different opinion says, yes, I do support. Ruto is directly involved with the ICC case, hence responsible for his attendance. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for sending in your feedback. We really do appreciate. We're now about to wind up the show, and let me just bring in Tiger Power again for the last time. Tiger Power, it was amazing having you. I think you're doing well, and we hope for the best for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, did you enjoy your time here?
I did. Let's come back again.
You'd like to come back again?
Okay, why not?
All right, thank you so much. My name is Betty Kyallo. Thank you very much for watching KTN Friday Briefing. And you are?
I'm Jero Karu, Kenya Tiger Power, Africa's strongest man.
All right, thank you so much. All right.